This happened 2 summers ago, on my way home from an out-of-town day trip for my son's birthday party. We went to a water park and decided to go to dinner in this really small town after getting slightly lost due to Google Maps' crappy directions. After dinner, we noticed across the street was a country fair, so we decided to check it out for fun. It was getting dark and the fair was nearly over, but we caught a tractor pull that was about to begin. We had never been to one, so we thought it might be a fun way to top off the birthday trip. We sat on the bleachers and watched for a little while. There were a lot of families there watching, and there were also a lot of drunk people as well. I didn't think anything of it. I had my 16-year-old son with me, and a good friend of mine who's a pretty strong guy, so I felt safe. We decided to leave the fair before the event was over, so as to not be on the road at night with a bunch of drunks. We walked back to the restaurant, which was now closed, and got into my car and set off for home. Backtracking using Google Map directions, we got to the road that I recognized would get us back home. I noticed that as soon as we pulled out of the restaurant, there was a car behind me, the only other car on the road. Most of the town's inhabitants were most likely at the fair or at home. The car followed us to the road we took to get home, which I found odd because it was a desolate back hilly road with a wooded area on either side. I thought maybe they too were from out of town and were using the same cut across to get to the interstate, as it was summer and many people take road trips. I still felt uneasy about it, but decided just to get off this road onto the interstate as soon as possible. As we were driving on this back road, it was fully dark outside, and I kept it easy for fear of a deer running out in front of us. The car stayed right behind me. I slowed way down, hoping that he would be annoyed enough to pass me for going too slow. Instead, he drove right up on my ass, tailgating me. I could see that there was only one person in the car, and the windows were tinted. I dared to speed up, wanting to get on the main road or interstate as soon as I could. He stayed right behind me, going as fast or as slow as I was, not bothering to get off my bumper. I knew without a doubt that we were being harassed. I was getting scared. I had my son in the back seat. It was his birthday. This was unfair, and I kicked myself for going to that tractor pull. Of course, I could not have predicted this craziness. After what seemed like ages, we got to the interstate. I hoped that it was just some local jerk who wanted to scare some city folks. But I somehow knew that it was not that simple. As I feared, he followed us on the interstate. Even on the interstate, he tailgated us. I slowed down intentionally, hoping in futility that he would just pass us. No luck. I sped way up. He caught up and stayed too close. Unfortunately, the interstate was quiet on our side. I had no choice but to keep going. My friend was very angry and ready to fight him if necessary. But I wanted no part of meeting this guy face to face, especially with my birthday boy in the back seat. I just kept going and prayed not to get a flat tire. At one point, I got scared enough to lay on the horn while driving, hoping the noise would dissuade him. It worked. He pulled over on the shoulder, and I saw his headlights turn off. I was relieved at first, but we did find it odd that he killed the lights. After that, we sped up and I was flying home. The sooner the better. About 15 minutes passed in blissful uneventfulness. We talked about how scary that whole ordeal was, and eventually started feeling relieved to put it behind us. Literally. We were about 25 minutes from home, and there were a couple of vehicles here and there, which made us feel less alone. At one point, when the cars thinned out and we were once again alone on the road, something happened that I could not believe. Right next to us and slightly behind us, bright headlights suddenly turned on. He had been following us that whole time with his headlights off, staying carefully behind us and waiting for his chance to surprise us. I almost started crying, but at this point, I was too angry. This guy has been following us for an hour now. Far ahead of us, I saw the taillights of a semi. I sped up quickly, with the stranger in the car next to me trying to keep pace from the fast lane. I think he realized that I was trying to catch up with this semi, so for the first time in this insane chase, he did something truly dangerous and swerved at my rear panel, trying to push me off the road. I sped ahead and missed him, clipping me by inches. I finally reached the semi driver and got close, hugging the back of his truck as much as I dared and leaving no room for this jerk to cut me off. We went this way for a little while. I truly believe this semi-truck driver knew something was wrong, because after so long of seeing this crazy driver swerving at me and trying to get in front of me, the truck driver did something that I will forever appreciate him for. He swerved over into the fast lane and dangerously cut off the stranger's car, then tapped his brakes. I took this as my cue to speed ahead from the slow lane and try to lose the creep. My hometown was straight ahead. I took a sharp left onto a back street that leads to a main road and stopped in a busy, well-lit gas station. Luckily, there was a cop there. My friend got out and explained the whole situation to the officer, and he called for other cops to search for this guy. We left the gas station after calling a friend to follow me to a parking lot, where I stowed my car overnight because I did not want the guy to possibly find my house by recognizing the car. I watched my back for quite some time after that. I always notice that make and model of car if I see it on the streets. Thank goodness we got away safely. Now, the most bothersome thing about this story is that the small town where this took place happens to be the hometown of one of the biggest mental health asylums in the Midwest. This thought has kept me awake at night. A little background. I was about 8 years old, and my mother, my little sister, and I were taking a road trip across Wyoming. This wasn't unusual, as we had family living all across the state, and my mom loved piling us in the car and driving. My memory of this event is patchy, and I remember more for the way my mom reacted than the event itself. I don't remember exactly where it was or where we were heading, but anyone who has ever driven through Wyoming knows that the roads are mostly deserted. We had been driving for several hours behind an older green and white truck, and we were approaching a gas station. And I remember my little sister being so excited because she wanted to get one of those little bottles made of wax that had juice in them. The green and white truck pulls into the gas station and we follow. We use the restroom, get some snacks, and my mom fills up the car with gas, and we get back into the car and back on the road. A little time passes, and then my mom asked, "Is that truck behind us the same one that we followed into the gas station?" I turn in my seat and confirm that it's the same truck. I sit back down and continue gorging myself on snacks. But I sense that my mom is uneasy. She keeps looking in her rearview mirror and watching the truck. It was a long drive to the next gas station, and along the way, the truck behind us would speed up and get dangerously close to us, and then back away a little. After a stretch of several miles, we are nearing another gas station. My mom adjusts her mirror so that she could see us in the back seat. She says, "I'm going to pull into this gas station and open my door like I'm going to get out. I don't want you two to open your doors. Don't get out. Just sit tight and hang on." My little sister and I look at each other like, "Okay." I thought it was strange, but the look in her eye kinda scared me. My mom is a calm person, but she has this presence about her that makes you aware that she isn't to be messed with. All my friends throughout the years have been a little scared of her, which is odd considering she's just over 5 feet tall and about 100 pounds. Anyway, we pull into the gas station and up to a pump. My mom adjusts her mirror so that she could see behind us. She opens the door with her car still running. The green and white truck pulls in and parks just to the side of the turn-in. The driver pops his hood, gets out, comes around to the front of his truck, and props the hood up. He starts messing around under the hood with his back turned to us. From what I remember of him, he was a really big guy. But who isn't to an 8-year-old girl? My mom slams the door and peels out of the gas station. I turn in my seat to watch the man. He turns around like he was startled, looks right at us, quickly closes his hood, even though he's only been looking under there for a few seconds. At this point, my mom is driving so fast that I lose sight of him. I was now terrified, and I knew that it must be serious for Mom to drive like this. Up ahead, the road bent sharply to the left, and there was a small road to the right that had a few buildings. Just before the bend, my mom slams on the brakes, pulls the steering wheel all the way to the right, and as if it were straight out of an action movie, slides around the corner. She then speeds through a small parking lot of one of the buildings and parks behind it. From our vantage point, we were hidden from traffic behind us, but could see anyone passing. A short time later, we watched the white and green truck speed right past us and around the bend. Obviously, my sister and I were very shaken up. My mom asked if we needed to use the restroom, and I said yes. She said that she had to as well, but we would have to wait for a bit. We then made our way to the next gas station, and I'll never forget what she said next, because it was just so out of character for her. She said, "I'd rather piss my pants in this car than be murdered on the side of this road." A little time passes, and we got back on the road and continued on our trip. We never saw that truck again. I'd like to start off this encounter with a little personal background. Once every other month, my family and I take a road trip from New Orleans to San Antonio, and then from San Antonio to Tulsa to visit grandparents. This drive is usually a piece of cake as you pass through many towns along the way. So here comes Christmas of 2015, and it's time to take this journey once more. I was glad that me, my wife and kids were going to see our relatives again. I have 2 kids, Tyler, 3, and Margaret, 6. Margaret is a factor in this event, but I'll get to that later. We get the unfortunate news that my wife's parents' house has been flooded and they did not want us to come. We wanted to help anyway, but they insisted that we go to my parents' house first and then go to their house afterwards. We unfortunately agreed and then began the unfamiliar 10-hour journey from New Orleans to Tulsa. Fast forward about 4 hours. We made the mistake of leaving around 7 p.m. We were on TX-77 heading to Atlanta, Texas for a break and a bite to eat. Let me tell you something. Traveling on a secluded road late at night is fucking horrible. In particular, TX-77. It turns and turns and you have to pay attention. We hadn't seen a car for miles, and that was really kind of terrifying by itself. Shit didn't get creepy until we were about 40 minutes away from Atlanta. We see what appears to be a police car quite some distance behind us. We thought that it was a little odd in the middle of the night, but not really creepy. It follows right behind us for a bit as we checked to make sure we weren't doing anything wrong. It escalated when he put on his sirens as we pulled over. He got out and went to my window. Then the following conversation happened. "Is there a problem, officer?"
Your license plate fell off. Are these your children? Your daughter is beautiful. Is she for sale?
Excuse me?
Is she for sale? I'll take good care of her.
Can I see your badge?
Yes, sir.
Then he pulled out a gun.
Give me your girl.
Sorry, officer. Hold on. I pretended to reach for her as I noped the hell out of there. We go full speed on this little state road for as long as we can. Thankfully, the car does not follow us. We finally get to a Pizza Hut and seek refuge. We tell the waitstaff about the encounter, and they have no clue as to who it could have been. With no answers, we stopped at a motel for the night. I am so thankful it ended there and he didn't follow us. It frightens me to think how this could have ended. Hey guys, Unit 522 here, and I want to thank you very much for watching my video. I would appreciate it very much if you would share, like, and comment. And if you're new to this channel, become one with the Unity by hitting the subscribe button. If you have a scary story or experience that you want featured on this channel, you can always send it to my email or post it on the Free Horror Stories subreddit. The links for those can be found in the description below. If you would like to help out this channel even more, consider a PayPal donation. And for more updates, be sure to follow me on Twitter. There's nothing wrong with a little darkness in your life, as long as you never forget there's always a reason to be afraid.